Okay, folks, real quick. I'll try to be quick. It's not going to be quick. It never is with my videos. I continue to restore this SunTour 6-speed freewheel. It's near and dear to my heart, and I want to restore it to like new condition. Was it working before? Yes. Was it at 100% working condition? No, absolutely not. I'm going to buy new bearings from my local bike shop. Um, and of course, in the process of all of this, the one thing I have destroyed is one of the plastic shims. There was a comment about everyone knowing that freewheels have plastic shims. Well, if it is true that everyone knows, which includes me, everyone includes me, right? Then I wouldn't apply mild heat to this to help break this free. Um, yeah, I don't want to go too far down a rat hole. I have said, I kind of agree. I'm probably at my wit's end on this, but I kept trying. Okay, that's just my personality. That's my instinct. And sometimes I fail. Sometimes I break shit. Um, but sometimes I don't, and I benefit from that. Having destroyed this one plastic shim is not the end of the world. I know I can either find one, have one machined, or have one 3D printed, so I'm not worried about that. Um, I have a lot of mechanical experience in my past. I worked for the power utility industry for a number of years. Any master mechanic will tell you, ASC certified auto mechanic will tell you, as a last resort for a seized fastener, as a last resort to cutting it off, put heat on it. And 9 out of 10 times, heat's going to do the job, okay? Now, yeah, if there's plastic in and around or within that assembly where that fastener is at, yeah, it's going to be melted and destroyed, okay? But a lot of times that's not the case. It's all metal. So that's what I know. And on top of that, Sheldon doesn't mention anything. Sheldon Brown on his several articles about plastic spacers. Um, I looked briefly for the engineering documentation from SunTour on these freewheels, but of course they probably didn't even publish it back then. Someone on the forum on this post actually suggested to add heat. So that someone also includes everyone. Why didn't he or she know that there were plastic shims? I don't know. Maybe they knew there was plastic shims and they wanted to see me melt all these shims down to a crusty crisp. I don't know. But that's that, and here I am. I'm restoring this freewheel, and I've got several questions. The first question, these shims here, these shims that rest on this surface that adjust how tight this locking cup binds to the bearings. How often do you remove one? I figure if the race wears, you can't you can't replace that. You can replace bearings that wear, which I'm going to do. Like I said, local bike shop, going to buy new bearings. Um, how often do you remove a shim so that you get better contact of this cup race locking ring? Second question I have is on Sheldon Brown's website. He says this. He says, many sprockets are asymmetrical. The high side of the teeth of the SunTour sprockets faces to the right. What does that mean? What does high side of the SunTour sprockets face to the right? What's the high side? This seems pretty flat. Well, let's look at this one. That one has a built-in spacer. This seems very flat. This is like a washer, reminiscent of just a regular plain Jane metal washer. One side has very acute edges to it, I guess you would say. And the other side is more rounded, even on all edges, okay? Okay. Now, when I removed this, I made a mark. There's a mark there, and I made a mark right there so that not only can I key it exactly where it was before, because these are symmetrical splines. There's, the free hubs and the cassette cogs, are keyed to go a certain way. So now I know this goes back that way. Not only that, I know that when I made this mark, this cog was assembled like this. So you would think this goes that way, right? You wouldn't flip it over this way. Although it's interesting, it's more smooth on this side. You've got the number here, 16 tooth, C as in Charlie marked there. But he says that. So which side is the high side? That's a question. Also, see the bevel here on the tooth, okay? The bevel on the tooth, the way it was installed, real quick here, the way it was installed is facing the outboard. So if you're the rider, it's the right, it's facing the right. It's also on the trailing edge of rotation. So if rotation is this way, that's the trailing edge, this is the leading edge. I'm assuming that's right. Sheldon furthermore goes on to say, the ramps for the chain pickup on newer sprockets also face to the right. Well, if this is considered a newer sprocket, this is an old article, but this is a 1988 sprocket, so this ramp is facing to the right, okay? I guess as viewed from the cyclist. He doesn't say that in detail from what view, what perspective. Now he says if they're installed backwards, poor shifting will occur. Well, I don't want to go into the way I think how the derailleur cage and chain goes and how the rotation is. I just want to confirm that I wouldn't think these were installed backwards because it's never been serviced. This is the first time. Just want to confirm that. And then the last tidbit is my chain. Conventional wisdom would say to replace the chain. This is an HKK Japan. It has 7C on the chain, okay? It's an old chain. I mean, it's not rusted. I can clean up and restore it fine. But you'll see on the pin, the way I drove it was when it was still on the bike. So I can orient this chain in the same orientation when I put it back on, just by a new pin, so that all the wear surfaces mate the way they wore over time. Conventional wisdom again says to replace the chain. Should I replace the chain, or should I recondition this chain and put a new pin in it? And that is all I have for now. Thank you for the help. Thank you for all the help. This is, again, near and dear to my heart, so I don't mind going through the headache to rebuild this and restore this. And as far as putting this back together, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. I've seen videos, RJ the Bike Guy on YouTube shows, I want to use a light marine grease just to get it sticky enough because, I don't want a heavy amount of grease. And of course, in this area here, you're just supposed to use oil. And I've got a particular reel oil from Pin Reels that I think works real well for these mechanisms. Same thing I use for my free hubs. Anyway, thanks again for the help. Goodbye.